So Lara, tell me, how have you found the board fellowship with Assura?
Yeah, Joelle, it's been a fantastic experience. I'll talk a bit about why I've loved it, and also a bit about where I've seen some of the challenges. I mean, look, strategically, the company I'm working with, Assura, is going through a really interesting set of challenges and opportunities. So, from a sort of purely intellectual perspective, it's been extremely interesting. From a personal perspective, the Assura board I found to be quite dynamic, inclusive, very informed. So a really good bunch of people to engage with, and I've enjoyed the personal interactions. And then, of course, from a career perspective, I've learned a huge amount. Of course, to some degree around sort of board processes, but also, through my interactions with the chair, really understood sort of how sort of more nuanced board dynamics work, and I can already see the difference it makes in having that public board on my CV in terms of how I'm now perceived by headhunters. So loads of really good positives. I think the challenge, which actually, to be honest, I've not experienced in my career before, has been, I think, for all of us, about how to get the right balance between being sort of supported, yet also having the right level of expectation. I'm not joining as sort of token summer intern, but at the same time, it's a new experience for me. And I think getting that balance between support and nurturing, but also being demanding of what's expected from me has been sort of the bit to get right. And I've had a good experience there so far, but it's obviously a bit more subtle than a normal board position. So yeah. It's been a great all round.
And Lara, what are your views on suggestions that the scheme might be sort of seen as tokenistic?
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to not get on my soapbox here, but I think, look, bluntly, I think it's, if I'm being harsh, I think it's a lazy view from people who either can't be bothered, or from being generous, I think it's perhaps a view from people who are perhaps a bit insecure about whether they're going to do it and mess it up. I mean, my view is that, if you look at the stats, obviously, around ethnic board representation, they're shocking. And if you look at the data around the impact of having ethnic minorities on the board, it's very compelling. And I think when I look at this programme, to my mind, there's very little downside risk, if any, for a company that does a scheme like this. I mean, not really paying anything. And what you're getting is the ability to say you're doing something. Somebody who probably would be quite highly paid in their normal day-to-day life, giving you sort of free advice. And hopefully, ultimately, you're helping make the world a better and more equal place. And so I guess, I think, of course, there is a risk that perhaps the interpersonal reactions aren't completely how they might be, and people might be worried about sort of messing things up. But, a board fellow is a great experience. The fellow's not going to come on and decimate your board, and I think it can make a huge difference to people's opportunity set and careers. So yeah.
And what advice would you give, Lara, to somebody who wants to be a board fellow to maximise the chances of getting a board role?
Yeah, I mean, so I think there's a few bits. So the first is to really be open and to be confident that you actually belong to be on a board. I mean, often these are people that, as you know, Joelle, they have the experience to demonstrate that they should, in theory, be able to be on a board, but they haven't actually been on a board, and so they get stuck in this kind of chicken and egg situation. So I think one piece is certainly about being confident and feeling like you should be there, and that you should put yourself forward, and don't feel sort of nervous about that. I think the second thing, though, is to find a board that you think is going to be interesting for you, both because you actually find the sector and the company and what they're doing interesting, but also because you've met some of the board members and the chair, and you feel that there's going to be an inclusive and useful dynamic from which you can learn. I think those are the two most important things. And I think as well, just being sort of open to trying new sectors as well. Because obviously there aren't that many of these positions, and so if you get one, they're a great experience, and if this is what you want to do, you should take it.
Thank you, Lara. You're a great advocate for the scheme, and it's been lovely to talk to you.
Thanks, Joelle. I think it's a brilliant scheme and a no-brainer to do it, so thank you for facilitating my experience.